information that you need for notes today. Does that make sense? Okay. That packet of notes includes the map that is currently projected. All right. My recommendation is that you label this either on the back of the map in the packet I give you, or that you label it in your notes independent of the map. Trying to label it on the maps and keep it all straight right now is going to get a little complicated. Does that make sense? So I'm going to pass out one of these. There are 4 maps in this packet. We are progressing, if you want. We're moving forward a little bit from some of this messianic expectation and this history stuff we've been talking about, and now this overlay of Narnia that sort of gives us a feel to some intertestamental New Testament geography. And we're looking at the geography of the first century world, beginning with the Empire of Rome, and then the city of Jerusalem, actually then Palestine, then the city of Jerusalem, and then the temple. Those are the 4 maps we're going to talk our way through this week. And then connected to this, there will be a project that's a little more creative. Okay? Connected to the maps unit is a thing we do where you make either your own board game.
Oh, what?
Say that again?
Like that. This is a version of Ticket to Ride. Right? That's a game based on this. I'll explain all the parameters for it. Or you make like a vacation tour, where you're the tour guide leading people to some of these places and whatever. Yeah, you with me on that? Okay. It's a little bit more creative. And then we take a day in here, and we actually play the board game. So I give you guys a chance. We'll have to COVID-ize whatever this stupidity is here. We may not actually be able to do it. But normally we get a chance to gather with people we're close to, proximity-wise, and play a board game or something like that. We have to abide by COVID restrictions, so I'm not sure how that's going to work in its entirety. But with me on that, it's fun. They've been turned into posters and put around my room from time to time, and then every once in a while I'll take them down so I have room for some of the stuff that you guys will create. Okay, so Monopoly is always one of the games. Ticket to Ride is always a game created. Somebody will always do a kind of like Chutes and Ladders or Candyland rip-off, spin-off somehow. Right? Some of the Ticket to Ride ones turn out really, really well. One of the best ones I ever got was a Clue, like a game of Clue. Sort of Who Killed the High Priest.
Okay, nice.
Herod's always a good option in that, right? But they had clues made and locations identified. I'll explain all the parameters to the game, but the board games are kind of a cool thing, and it's a fun way to engage with the geography material and make some like Bible trivia sort of game out of it. Okay, so I'm going to give you a packet. Don't lose your packet. Can I emphasize that again? Don't lose your packet. Okay.
For someone like me, where should I put it?
Where you're not going to lose it.
That could be anywhere. I've lost my shoe on my foot. What? This happened.
1, if it's on your foot, it ain't lost. You may not realize that it's there, but that's your own fault. Don't lose your packet. Okay, we're dealing with this first map on the front cover.
You put my name on it, right?
Yeah, put your name on it, that's fine. That way, when you do lose it, I know who to throw it at.
Fair enough.
Okay, so what we're going to do today is label the map. Does that make sense? My advice is use the back of your map or your notes to create like an answer key. Okay? So that as we go through what's in the map, you have a designated space. Eventually, what I'm going to have you do as you create your board games and stuff is, you may want to do it on the back of the first one. Just so you keep each map separate. is color code your maps. Bodies of water are, look, blue is a good choice. Same, okay? Major regions are this color, right? Key cities are highlighted or like circled in this color or whatever the case. You make it pretty is basically what I'm saying. You guys with me on that? Okay, so here's what we are going to do. There are a series of things that identify, it's like a key for a map. There are a series of letters and numbers and numerals. Capital letters on your map are major regions. And they start in the northwest corner and they swing around to the south. So they go from here this way. So capital letters are major regions. Roman numerals are bodies of water. So capital letters, major regions. Roman numerals, bodies of water. Lowercase letters are islands. And numbers, like 1 through 10, are key cities. Okay? I'm going to try and do this so that each of those 4 categories gets a different color. You with me on that? Are you ready? Okay. Northwest corner of your map. I will also do one of these for you.
Wow.
Listen, compass directions. Got to know your compass directions. That's all I'm saying.
Never you thought you wanted.
Right? A is Italy. By the way, for my map, major regions are in white. Okay? Okay? B is the region we call Achaia. Achaea. Achaia. It's what we know as mainland Greece. Achaea. Achaia. That's what the Romans called it. Okay? By the way, all of these regions, this is the Roman name for all of these regions.
Oh.
Okay? C Macedonia, that region of Alexander, right? C is Macedonia. D Thrace, like race with a TH in front of it. Thrace. Thrace. Okay, E is this big space in here. By the way, this space is one of the most important spaces in the New Testament world after the Gospels. From Acts forward, this little space we're going to label here becomes one of the most densely concentrated places of apostolic ministry on the planet. Okay, E we know as Asia.
Small Asia.
Because this is what the Romans called it. We would call it Asia Minor,
Yeah.
as opposed to like Far East Asia, which is over here, right? The half of Russia and China. Yeah.
Russia is
Okay. Russia is like
It's in Europe and Asia.
Europe to the west, but the eastern half is Asia. So this we would call Asia Minor. It's largely what is contemporary Turkey. Okay. F up here. Spelling this one is always complicated for me. Bithynia. 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 G is Pontus. There's an individual in church history who doesn't like the Jewishness of the Gospels. He thinks it heresy for the Gospels to be so Jewish. and he's from Pontus. His name is Marcion. And so he actually redacts. He takes stuff out of the Gospels in his copy of the Scripture, right? Which leaves them rather sparse. Okay? And the church, one of the church fathers doesn't like Marcion, clearly. He calls him, quote, that rat from Pontus that gnaws away at the Gospels. This is how I remember Pontus. Marcion and, quote, that rat from Pontus. It's just one of those things that sticks to me. Sorry. Welcome to what happens up here as I talk to you guys. Okay. Pontus is GH. Is Galatia. Now this, you need to iron out in your head. This is a region in the Roman world. In the Roman world, there are two things called Galatia. One of them is a geographic region. That one. It's to the north. Does that make sense? There is also a Galatia down here, which is a Roman province.
Which one was Galatians wrote to?
Very good question. We're not entirely sure.
Oh, nice.
Just to be totally honest with you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
There are some clues that give us indications, but we don't know fully, so we're going to have to talk about it. Because which Galatia Paul is writing to matters a lot, both for when he wrote the letter and what he's addressing and why. Yeah? Just like if I were to write you a letter, it's remarkably different than if I were to write, I don't know, my daughters a letter. It's a different tone, it's a different relationship, it's different concerns and issues. Tracking with me on that? Okay. So it's the same kind of thing. We got to identify which Galatia we happen to be talking about when we talk about the letter. This is a geographic space. Like we can talk about Cincinnati as anything within the 275 loop. It's Cincinnati, right? But it's not. There are plenty of places within the 275 loop that aren't properly Cincinnati. That's a specific political space that is a city. It's the same kind of thing here, right? There's a region we're talking about, and then there's a specific governmental space. Which Galatia the letter is written to, we got to sort that out. Okay? South of Galatia, Pisidia. 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 Okay. J. Pamphylia. Some great names, by the way. And K down on the coast, Lycia. Or Lycia, depending on how you want to emphasize the syllables. L, moving to the east. Cappadocia, or Cappadocia. M is right here, right on the eastern edge of your map, about halfway up. Syria. And all the way to the southern edge. N, down there at the bottom. We should know this one, right?
Egypt. Right?
Correct. Egypt. There's a little line there, and then a bunch of ones that branch off of it. That's a body of water we'll talk about in a second. So Egypt, and then O to the west. Yeah. Libya. Okay. So major regions are marked in white. Let's do bodies of water. which I will write in blue because, well, I really shouldn't have to explain. So, just saying. They begin in the northeast corner. So up here, Roman numeral number 1 is up here. Okay, and this is the Black Sea. What is up here is Russia, right? So southern Europe and the Mediterranean world is separated from Russia to the north by the Black Sea. 2 is right in here in the middle. It's called the Aegean Sea, Aegean, Aegean Sea, Aegean, Aegean. 3 is down here. And the Nile River, which I hope you knew that. Sure. You guys are like, yeah, sure, we knew that. No problem. 4. The Mediterranean Sea, which is really everything not subsequently labeled. The bulk of this map is blue. Okay, you will hear me call this the Med. Slang from the Navy. I'm not going to call it the Mediterranean. More often than not, I'll call it the Med. Unless I'm being specific about it's on the coast of the Mediterranean. If I'm talking about the region, chances are I'm going to say the Med. So we'll call it the Med. No, sorry. Right. 5 up here next to Italy. The Adriatic Sea, named after Adrian.
Oh, we got creative there.
Well, that's how history works, right? The Battle of Gettysburg. Guess what it was? Guess where it was.
Gettysburg.
Wow.
Whoa.
Lexington and Concord.
Yeah, right. We do the same thing. Okay. Orange. We're gonna do orange for islands. Islands are lowercase letters on your map. Okay, and they work right across the heart of the Med here. And so A is this one. It's the island of Malta. Paul is shipwrecked here.
You said Malta?
Malta.
Malta.
Malta. It's okay.
It's not even a spill in the island.
Malta.
It's like on the island.
Okay. Paul gets shipwrecked here. He gets bitten by a snake here. People think he's going to die. He's like, no, I'm good. And I'm like, oh, he must be a god instead. Whoa. We'll look at that story in Acts when we talk about it. It's kind of an interesting one. B is the island of Sicily. Sicily, Sicily.
How many of these places did Paul go to?
What?
How many of these places did Paul go to?
A lot. Almost all of them.
Oh, dang.
C is right here in the middle, in the heart of it all. The island of Crete. D is off the coast of Asia. It's right here. The island of Patmos. 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 This is where John the Apostle is exiled and where he writes the text of Revelation. It's the Lord's Day on the island of Patmos, and I saw.
Was this like an inch a mile or something?
Wait, so is Revelation just one big vision?
Yeah, pretty much. No.
Dang.
It's one sequence of
That's-
it's one sequence of stuff he sees.
It was just him on it, right? He didn't have a roommate exile.
No, I mean there are people there. There are people there. But he's sent there because the emperor has already tried to execute him.
Didn't work out.
Right. The emperor at the time decided that John's crime for all of his preaching and believing in Jesus was deserving of being boiled alive in oil.
Ooh.
And so he has John dipped in boiling oil. Yeah, pretty much. Like Kentucky Fried Chicken style. Yeah. However, church history tells us John survives it. Like it doesn't kill him. What church history is vague on is whether or not he's injured by it. Some of the accounts make it sound like it's kind of like one of those Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego things. Like, oh yeah, I'm just chilling, we're fine. And he's totally good. And then other indications are, no. Like, he was okay, but like it left a mark. Right? Not quite, the KFC extra crispy. But it took its toll on him. And the emperor realizing that, oh, dang it, I can't kill this guy. He was like, just go away and sends him to Patmos instead. Either way, it's clear he's been exiled here by the Roman emperor who has tried to kill him and failed. Yeah? Which, by the way, leads to a legend in the early church that the Apostle John never died. God just did one of those like beam me up Scotty moments like he does with Elijah. Takes him because John's that awesome. I don't know. Right? There's this legend around John the Apostle in the early church. Right now. Which the end of the Gospel of John alludes to that. Jesus foreshadows how Peter's going to die. And then Peter goes, yeah, but what about that guy? And Jesus goes, why do you care? It doesn't matter what I do with that guy. I'm talking about you. It's the same response I give one of you guys when you come in and say, well, his grade was, and then, what's yours? I don't care.
I don't care about my grade.
That guy over there doesn't know. Let's focus on that. That's what Jesus does with Peter and John. It leads to this like legend in the early church that John's just that awesome he doesn't die because you couldn't kill him. Whatever. It's just one of those really interesting things. Anyway, the last island here, E, is Cyprus. Cyprus. Cyprus.
Oh, never mind. Sounds like Cyrus goes out the P.
Yeah, not named after him though. Not named after him. Okay, major cities.
What letters are those again?
Those are what?
What letters are the
Lowercase letters were islands. Numbers 1 through 15 are major cities. Okay? So capital letters are regions. Roman numerals are bodies of water. Lowercase letters are islands. Numbers 1 to 15 are major cities. Good? Okay, first one's down here in Egypt. On the coast, we know this city.
Oh,
This is Alexandria. Okay, Alexandria. To its east, number 2. Is Jerusalem. North of it, in the southern edge of Syria, is Antioch, the city named after Antiochus. Right, Antioch. You're going to hear me be specific. There are a handful of Antiochs at this time. So there is a Pisidian Antioch, an Antioch in Pisidia, and there is a Syrian Antioch. Okay? More often than not, I will tell you which of the two I'm referring to. If I don't provide the region, assume Syria. Because it's the more prominent one. Does that make sense? Okay. 4, up there next to it, this is where the Apostle Paul is actually from. Tarsus.
Tarsus?
Tarsus. Tarsus. Tarshish, where Jonah sailed for, is over here.
Oh.
Does that make sense? So God says, hey, Jonah, go to Nineveh, which is over there. And Jonah goes, nah, nah, and gets on a ship, which he doesn't have to get on, by the way, and sails for Tarshish, which is over here in Spain.
My dad did a sermon on that, and he said it's like saying God tells you to go to Philadelphia from here, and you go to
LA.
Alaska.
Yeah, pretty much. Right.
Dang.
Going to Nineveh did not involve a boat at all. Whoops. Okay. So that was 4. 5 and 6 are on the island of Cyprus. Okay. 5 is a city called Salamis. 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 And 6 on the other end of the island the city called Paphos. Paphos. So Salamis and Paphos. Remind me this is where we left off. We'll pick up here tomorrow. Okay? Thanks, guys.